Universitas Negeri Jakarta. Dalam seminggu, tersedia 8 kelas keahlian yang dapat diikuti oleh anak muda di Jakarta dan sekitarnya. Selain di UNJ, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia juga membuka kelas offline di Jakarta Creative Hub. Hadirnya KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia di UNJ dan Jakarta Creative Hub merupakan bentuk kolaborasi dalam memfasilitasi masyarakat mendapatkan pendidikan dan pelatihan secara gratis dan berkualitas. SangSang Komunitas adalah mahasiswa dari berbagai kampus di Jakarta dan sekitarnya yang terpilih untuk menjadi representasi dari SangSang Univ. Tujuannya untuk menjadi perpanjangan tangan dari program yang dimiliki SangSang Univ. Mereka terbagi menjadi 3 bagian, yaitu SangSang Volunteer, terdiri dari 10 orang yang berfokus pada kegiatan sosial, SangSang Friends, 20 orang yang menjalankan kegiatan kreatif di website dan sosial media official, dan SangSang Mentor, 8 orang yang melakukan kegiatan mengajar anak-anak di panti asuhan. Dalam merespon geliat industri kopi di Indonesia, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia ikut andil dalam menciptakan SDM terampil dengan membuka kelas Barista Coffee Lab. Program pelatihan gratis ini ditunjukkan bagi anak muda yang memiliki mimpi dan minat menjadi barista. Kelas ini dipandu oleh barista bersertifikat dan disediakan seluruh alat pendukung pembelajaran. Setelah ikut kelas barista, peserta diharapkan memahami lebih baik tentang kopi dan menjadi barista profesional. 30.000 anak muda sudah mengikuti program kelas keahlian di KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Dan ini cerita mereka yang berhasil mengembangkan mimpi serta passionnya.
Halo, nama aku Farah Zauza. Aku alumni dari Career Class KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Setelah mengikuti kelas SangSang, aku jadi mencoba untuk mengaplikasikan yang aku dapat. Aku mencoba untuk revisi CV aku, dan aku jadi lebih percaya diri ketika interview.
Ini adalah bagian kecil dari peserta KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Masih banyak lagi anak muda di berbagai kota yang terbantu dengan adanya kelas gratis dari KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia.
Dan tentunya juga selalu bahagia ya, karena bisa ngobrol bareng sama, ini gue jujur idola banget sama dia nih. Kita!
Hai, SangSang mate.
Kan di SangSang Univ Indonesia ini banyak banget tuh pelatihan-pelatihan. Pendapat kita seperti apa?
Bagus banget, kita belajar, beneran belajar akademik. Nah, SangSang Univ ini sebagai jembatan.
Dalam rangka merayakan kesuksesan KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dalam menjalankan program kegiatannya, setiap akhir tahun dihelat konser musik dengan menghadirkan artis ternama di Indonesia. Konser ini dipersembahkan untuk mahasiswa Indonesia yang telah mendukung hadirnya KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Terima kasih, Indonesia!
SangSang Univ Indonesia, SangSang Univ Indonesia. Inilah tempatnya meraih tujuan kreatif dengan berbagai cara, temukan pengalaman yang tidak terbatas, tempat untuk belajar dan juga berkarya bersama untuk menggapai cita-cita. Jangan ragu melangkah bersama kami.
KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia merupakan program kegiatan sosial dalam mendukung anak muda dan masa depan masyarakat Indonesia. Memberikan kesempatan untuk belajar dan mengembangkan bakat, eksplorasi karir, dan kegiatan sosial. KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia percaya bahwa mimpi dan passion anak muda harus didukung untuk kehidupan masa depan yang lebih baik. Masa pandemi membuat berbagai kegiatan dibatasi, terutama kegiatan pendidikan. Kondisi ini direspon oleh KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dengan menghadirkan kelas online gratis terbesar. Berbagai pilihan kelas keahlian dan karir yang dapat diakses oleh seluruh masyarakat Indonesia dimanapun dan kapanpun. Dengan kualitas kelas yang menarik dan interaktif, membuat KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia menjadi kelas online gratis terbaik saat ini. Sebagai pendukung kegiatan offline, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia membangun pusat pendidikan dan pelatihan yang diberi nama UnivZone. UnivZone menjadi tempat kegiatan offline kelas KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dan event anak muda lainnya. Saat ini, UnivZone berada di Universitas Negeri Jakarta. Kedepan, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia menargetkan membangun UnivZone lainnya di berbagai kota Indonesia. Sejak April tahun 2022, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia membuka kelas offline di UnivZone Universitas Negeri Jakarta. Dalam seminggu, tersedia 8 kelas keahlian yang dapat diikuti oleh anak muda di Jakarta dan sekitarnya. Selain di UNJ, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia juga membuka kelas offline di Jakarta Creative Hub. Hadirnya KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia di UNJ dan Jakarta Creative Hub merupakan bentuk kolaborasi dalam memfasilitasi masyarakat mendapatkan pendidikan dan pelatihan secara gratis dan berkualitas. SangSang Komunitas adalah mahasiswa dari berbagai kampus di Jakarta dan sekitarnya yang terpilih untuk menjadi representasi dari SangSang Univ. Tujuannya untuk menjadi perpanjangan tangan dari program yang dimiliki SangSang Univ. Mereka terbagi menjadi 3 bagian, yaitu SangSang Volunteer, terdiri dari 10 orang yang berfokus pada kegiatan sosial, SangSang Friends, 20 orang yang menjalankan kegiatan kreatif di website dan sosial media official, dan SangSang Mentor, 8 orang yang melakukan kegiatan mengajar anak-anak di panti asuhan. Dalam merespon geliat industri kopi di Indonesia, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia ikut andil dalam menciptakan SDM terampil dengan membuka kelas Barista Coffee Lab. Program pelatihan gratis ini ditunjukkan bagi anak muda yang memiliki mimpi dan minat menjadi barista. Kelas ini dipandu oleh barista bersertifikat dan disediakan seluruh alat pendukung pembelajaran. Setelah ikut kelas barista, peserta diharapkan memahami lebih baik tentang kopi dan menjadi barista profesional. 30.000 anak muda sudah mengikuti program kelas keahlian di KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Dan ini cerita mereka yang berhasil mengembangkan mimpi serta passionnya.
Halo, nama aku Farah Zauza. Aku alumni dari Career Class KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Setelah mengikuti kelas SangSang, aku jadi mencoba untuk mengaplikasikan yang aku dapat. Aku mencoba untuk revisi CV aku, dan aku jadi lebih percaya diri ketika interview.
Ini adalah bagian kecil dari peserta KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Masih banyak lagi anak muda di berbagai kota yang terbantu dengan adanya kelas gratis dari KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia.
Dan tentunya juga selalu bahagia ya, karena bisa ngobrol bareng sama, ini gue jujur idola banget sama dia nih, Ikuti!
SangSang mate.
Kan di SangSang Univ Indonesia ini banyak banget tuh pelatihan-pelatihan. Pendapat Gita seperti apa?
Bagus banget, kita beneran belajar akademik. Nah, SangSang Univ ini sebagai jembatan.
Dalam rangka merayakan kesuksesan KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dalam menjalankan program kegiatannya, setiap akhir tahun dihelat konser musik dengan menghadirkan artis ternama di Indonesia. Konser ini dipersembahkan untuk mahasiswa Indonesia yang telah mendukung hadirnya KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Terima kasih, Indonesia!
SangSang Univ Indonesia, SangSang Univ Indonesia. Inilah tempatnya meraih tujuan kreatif dengan berbagai cara, memegang pengalaman yang tidak terbatas, tempat untuk belajar dan juga berkarya bersama untuk menggapai cita-cita. Jangan ragu melangkah, bersama kami ada KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia, ada untukmu. Hey, hey, hey. KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia, ada untukmu. Hey.
KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia merupakan program kegiatan sosial dalam mendukung anak muda dan masa depan masyarakat Indonesia, memberikan kesempatan untuk belajar dan mengembangkan bakat, eksplorasi karir, dan kegiatan sosial. KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia percaya bahwa mimpi dan passion anak muda harus didukung untuk kehidupan masa depan yang lebih baik. Masa pandemi membuat berbagai kegiatan dibatasi, terutama kegiatan pendidikan. Kondisi ini direspon oleh KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dengan menghadirkan kelas online gratis terbesar. Berbagai pilihan kelas keahlian dan karir yang dapat diakses oleh seluruh masyarakat Indonesia dimanapun dan kapanpun. Dengan kualitas kelas yang menarik dan interaktif, membuat KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia menjadi kelas online gratis terbaik saat ini. Sebagai pendukung kegiatan offline, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia membangun pusat pendidikan dan pelatihan yang diberi nama UnivZone. UnivZone menjadi tempat kegiatan offline kelas KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dan event anak muda lainnya. Saat ini, UnivZone berada di Universitas Negeri Jakarta. Kedepan, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia menargetkan membangun UnivZone lainnya di berbagai kota Indonesia. Sejak April tahun 2022, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia membuka kelas offline di UnivZone Universitas Negeri Jakarta. Dalam seminggu, tersedia 8 kelas keahlian yang dapat diikuti oleh anak muda di Jakarta dan sekitarnya. Selain di UNJ, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia juga membuka kelas offline di Jakarta Creative Hub. Hadirnya KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia di UNJ dan Jakarta Creative Hub merupakan bentuk kolaborasi dalam memfasilitasi masyarakat mendapatkan pendidikan dan pelatihan secara gratis dan berkualitas. SangSang Komunitas adalah mahasiswa dari berbagai kampus di Jakarta dan sekitarnya yang terpilih untuk menjadi representasi dari SangSang Univ. Tujuannya untuk menjadi perpanjangan tangan dari program yang dimiliki SangSang Univ. Mereka terbagi menjadi 3 bagian, yaitu SangSang Volunteer, terdiri dari 10 orang yang berfokus pada kegiatan sosial, SangSang Friends, 20 orang yang menjalankan kegiatan kreatif di website dan sosial media official, dan SangSang Mentor, 8 orang yang melakukan kegiatan mengajar anak-anak di panti asuhan. Dalam merespon geliat industri kopi di Indonesia, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia ikut andil dalam menciptakan SDM terampil dengan membuka kelas Barista Coffee Lab. Program pelatihan gratis ini ditunjukkan bagi anak muda yang memiliki mimpi dan minat menjadi barista. Kelas ini dipandu oleh barista bersertifikat dan disediakan seluruh alat pendukung pembelajaran. Setelah ikut kelas barista, peserta diharapkan memahami lebih baik tentang kopi dan menjadi barista profesional. 30.000 anak muda sudah mengikuti program kelas keahlian di KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Dan ini cerita mereka yang berhasil mengembangkan mimpi serta passionnya.
Halo, nama aku Farah Zauza. Aku alumni dari Career Class KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Setelah mengikuti kelas SangSang, aku jadi mencoba untuk mengaplikasikan yang aku dapat. Aku mencoba untuk revisi CV aku, dan aku jadi lebih percaya diri ketika interview.
Ini adalah bagian kecil dari peserta KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Masih banyak lagi anak muda di berbagai kota yang terbantu dengan adanya kelas gratis dari KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia.
Dan tentunya juga selalu bahagia ya, karena bisa ngobrol bareng sama, ini gue jujur idola banget sama dia nih, Ikuti!
Hai, SangSang mate.
Kan di SangSang Univ Indonesia ini banyak banget tuh pelatihan-pelatihan. Pendapat kita seperti apa?
Bagus banget, kita beneran belajar akademik. Nah, SangSang Univ ini sebagai jembatan.
Dalam rangka merayakan kesuksesan KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dalam menjalankan program kegiatannya, setiap akhir tahun dihelat konser musik dengan menghadirkan artis ternama di Indonesia. Konser ini dipersembahkan untuk mahasiswa Indonesia yang telah mendukung hadirnya KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. Terima kasih, Indonesia!
SangSang Univ Indonesia, SangSang Univ Indonesia. Inilah tempatnya meraih tujuan kreatif dengan berbagai cara, memegang pengalaman yang tidak terbatas, tempat untuk belajar dan juga berkarya bersama untuk menggapai cita-cita. Jangan ragu melangkah, bersama kami ada KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia, ada untukmu. Hey, hey, hey. KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia, ada untukmu. Hey.
KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia merupakan program kegiatan sosial dalam mendukung anak muda dan masa depan masyarakat Indonesia, memberikan kesempatan untuk belajar dan mengembangkan bakat, eksplorasi karir, dan kegiatan sosial. KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia percaya bahwa mimpi dan passion anak muda harus didukung untuk kehidupan masa depan yang lebih baik. Masa pandemi membuat berbagai kegiatan dibatasi, terutama kegiatan pendidikan. Kondisi ini direspon oleh KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dengan menghadirkan kelas online gratis terbesar. Berbagai pilihan kelas keahlian dan karir yang dapat diakses oleh seluruh masyarakat Indonesia dimanapun dan kapanpun. Dengan kualitas kelas yang menarik dan interaktif, membuat KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia menjadi kelas online gratis terbaik saat ini. Sebagai pendukung kegiatan offline, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia membangun pusat pendidikan dan pelatihan yang diberi nama UnivZone. UnivZone menjadi tempat kegiatan offline kelas KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia dan event anak muda lainnya. Saat ini, UnivZone berada di Universitas Negeri Jakarta. Kedepan, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia menargetkan membangun UnivZone lainnya di berbagai kota Indonesia. Sejak April tahun 2022, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia membuka kelas offline di UnivZone Universitas Negeri Jakarta. Dalam seminggu, tersedia 8 kelas keahlian yang dapat diikuti oleh anak muda di Jakarta dan sekitarnya. Selain di UNJ, KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia juga membuka kelas offline di Jakarta Creative Hub. Hadirnya KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia di UNJ dan Jakarta Creative Hub merupakan bentuk kolaborasi dalam memfasilitasi masyarakat mendapatkan pendidikan dan pelatihan secara gratis dan berkualitas.
Hai SangSang Mates, sorry. Selamat datang ke KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia. My name is Noah Servin, saya seorang English tutor. And yeah, saya ngajar kelas, this one-day class for speaking English with a native speaker. Hari ini kita akan belajar tentang basically just practicing, trying to increase our conversations and exposure to speaking English natively, basically ya. Tapi sebelum kita mulai, saya mau kasih tahu kalau semua kelas online SangSang disiarkan langsung dari website SangSang Univ, yaitu sangsanguniv.co.id. And yeah, in the website you can find the newsletter, ada forumnya, and you can share whatever you want on there, and kalian bisa kasih review dan feedback juga ke tutor, just me. Jangan lupa absen di Google Form yang diberikan lewat admin Telegram and WhatsApp, and don't forget to follow social medianya KT&G SangSang Univ Indonesia di Instagram, Facebook, sama YouTube. With that, we can start the class. Okay. I will share my screen. Okay. Kelihatan nggak ya? If you can't see this, let me know. Cool. Firstly, I just wanted to say thank you for all joining the class. Udah lama juga ya, it's been a while. I think last time I taught a class for SangSang was, udah nggak inget. I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Noah Servin. I'm based in the UK. Sekarang lagi di UK, it's like 6 a.m., so lumayan early. My occupation is I'm a consultant. Ini ada weaknesses juga, grammar, I think that's normal, English and French. I make a lot of mistakes with English grammar as well. Just one thing I wanted to ask is, how many of you guys have joined one of my classes previously? I could see some familiar faces, but yeah, just wondering. Oh, sorry. Okay, just a bit of background information. I used to teach classes. I used to teach the SangSang Daily Conversation class. about a year ago. Due to work getting too busy, I had to stop. It's something that I wanted to come back to, just because I quite enjoyed it. Once a week, I'd be able to, teach English to a lot of people, just to have conversations, to interact. For me, it was quite fun, to be honest. And I'm hoping this is something I'll be able to sort of continue doing again. Probably not 4 times a week, but hey, maybe once a month, twice a month. And hopefully there's mutual benefits to this. So for me, I find it fun, interactive. For you guys, hopefully there's some translatable skills that you can learn and apply to your daily lives. I mean, that's the goal. Yeah, that's the goal here. Yeah, cool. So yeah, what's this class about? So the main thing is trying to practice expressing our opinions in English. So Anya, I feel like it's easy to, to learn something, but I feel like when you don't use what you learn, it's simply memorization. And when you memorize something, I feel like gampang lupa. Yeah, I don't know if that's just me. Mungkin I'm just gampang lupa, but I feel like for you to truly be able to understand something, you have to, practice it. You have to make mistakes, just so you know how to apply what you learn and not just memorize it and forget. That's what I do, at least. We just want to practice talking about trivial and important topics. Trivial too, it's just topics that aren't, not too important. Kayak apa ya? Talking about, I don't know, your favorite, like your favorite restaurant. That's something some people might consider that very important, but perhaps that's a bit trivial. Like nggak terlalu penting gitu. It's more casual conversation. Also we can meet new English speaking friends. I think probably one of the easiest ways to learn a language is to have a friend who's trying to learn that same language, or have a friend who already speaks that language, and just exchanging thoughts, exchanging conversation, making mistakes with them. And then of course there's employability factors to this as well. I feel like it's getting more and more important for people to be able to speak English in professional settings. Is this something? So for example, I work in the UK, so of course I have to speak English for work. Is this something that you guys find is true for you? In Indonesia, is it important for somebody who's trying to enter the professional world to be able to speak English? Is that one of the key factors here? Okay. And then I wrote some text. The goal here is for people to feel like they can talk. There's no pressure. I don't really want to focus on grammar or vocabulary. One of the main factors here is for people to be more confident, to be confident making mistakes. Because, at the end of the day, like, what's the worst case scenario when you make a mistake? Nggak ada ya, like, there's nothing's bad is gonna happen if you make a grammar mistake mid conversation. It's okay. All right. Cool. How can we succeed? Simple. It's so simple. There's just 2 factors. Willingness to collaborate. This one is easier said than done. Because as I mentioned, people are usually afraid of making mistakes. I am too. but yeah, the more we collaborate in terms of sharing our opinions, trying to be more involved, it really helps with the confident aspect, because at the moment you might be like agak malu to share your opinions, but you realize once you do, like, apaan sih, what's the worst that could happen? Like, you have nothing to lose, basically. And then yeah, time spent speaking English in and out of this class. Mungkin in Indo, yeah, that's harder for a lot of reasons, but just making an effort speaking English, yeah, when you're not in English classes is probably one of the biggest factors. Yeah, so for me as well, one of the main reasons I want to hear everybody's opinions is because not only because I want you guys to just practice sharing your opinions in English, but also because I'm very curious about the thoughts and opinions a lot of you have on a variety of subjects. In my mind, this is where this class would go in the future. If I were to host it once or twice a month, it would be just thinking about several topics that we want to touch through. We can talk about it, have a conversation maybe. And so you guys can share your opinions and I can also hear yours, because yeah, I'm curious about that. If there are any topics you guys want to touch on in future classes, feel free to email me or message me via LinkedIn. I'll share the details later. Yeah, if any of you guys have my Instagram, I don't use that anymore. Just a heads up if you sharing your like thoughts on there. Cool. All right. Ada pertanyaan nggak? Maybe I'm talking too fast or nggak jelas. So if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, looks like aman. Cool. Let's start. Yeah, so we already touched on the second one. In most Indonesian workplaces, I guess English speaking is a necessity. Perhaps especially, apalagi like when it's customer facing roles, hospitality work. Yeah, so I guess we've established that it is important to speak English, to be able to speak English at work. Do we think it's, for example, I'm not sure how many of you guys are working at the moment or lagi kuliah or baru selesai kuliah, but do you think you would be able to confidently speak in English at work? Is that something you think you'd be able to do now? If you guys have any answers to that, you can just put it in the chat. Yeah, I mean, sorry, I haven't done this class in a while. Haki, if you wanna, I don't think I can unmute you. Oh, maybe I can. Mohon bersabar. Just give me 1 second.
Okay,
Hi, Haki.
so what's the question? Pardon?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if you are working at the moment, are you able to speak confidently in English at your work environment?
Okay, so first I'd like to say thank you for KT&G for making this webinar happen, and nice to meet you, Servin. What should I call you?
Noe.
Noe, okay.
Yeah,
It's
nice to
glad
meet
to
you.
meet you, and I hope we can further our conversation. So for me, speaking English is not just how we can express our thought or our idea, but speaking English is like, I can say it is most speaking language in the world.
Mhm.
That's why nowadays it is not really amazing anymore that everyone should speak English, because nowadays we are facing a globalization where English is as the most speaking language in the world, and that's why I've always want to have a partner to speak English, because in my opinion, even though we are in a working English area, but if don't really have the confidence, if don't really have that ability to speak English with others fluently, because speaking is about practice, right? No matter how many words we have, how many phrases we have, but as long as we can make our speaker understand what we are talking about, it is enough.
Yeah.
That's why my formula is always the same. Be confident, be brave, and speak up. Because speaking is about practice. We can learn grammar only overnight, but speaking is about continuity. So start now and then speak confidently, because yeah, language is important. That's why speaking English also become the most spoken topic in the world. Thank you, Noi.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. I agree. There's something you said there. Yeah, speaking is about trying to exchange information between two people. Whether you make mistakes or not, I don't think that's too important, as long as the other person you're talking to understands what you're trying to say. You're trying to exchange messages, exchange information. At the end of the day, the bottom line, that's what's most important. Yeah, I think you have a good attitude when it comes to being brave and speaking up. Yeah, I think for some people it's easier said than done. Like, yeah, it took me a long time to be able to confidently, I don't know, speak in front of a lot of people talking about random things. But yeah, I guess the first step is to just be brave. And I guess, yeah, that's a good message. Yeah, and we've also already discussed that speaking better English gives us a leg up in professional settings. A leg up, artinya kayak advantage ya. If I have a leg up at work, it means I have an advantage. If I have a leg up over you, that could sound weird, but it means I have an advantage over you, if that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, does anybody have any questions before we move on? Hi, Masa. So yeah, you asked me how do I prepare myself to speak confidently in front of the camera. If you guys want to know, so for me, the trick is to not think about it yet. So it's 6 a.m. here. So what I did is I woke up as late as I could before this started, just so I don't have to think about it. Is that a good strategy? Maybe not. But yeah, I just try to not think about it. My first times teaching for SangSang, I was like, aduh, like, you know, I'm not used to talking to this many people. Terus like takut nggak jelas ya. But after a while, I realized like, apaan sih, like, what is the worst that could happen? Like some people think, I don't know, I sound stupid, I look stupid, but at the end of the day, like, you know, I'm trying to do my best, and I guess that's all that matters. That sounds very cheesy though. Yeah, so how do I prepare myself to speak confidently in front of camera? Try to do it more often, try to put myself in a scenario where I have to. For work, I do consulting for some pretty big companies, and I have to, walaupun nggak confident, I have to pretend I'm confident at least, because I have clients. They give me, like, they pay to hear me speak, like on a per hour basis. Kalau I'm speaking very nervously, they're like, "Oh, this guy I'm paying to be my consultant, he's not confident." Ya kan, that's risky. I might lose a client there. So yeah, maybe sometimes it helps to just pretend to be confident, and then the confidence will come. Fake it till you make it. Yeah, maybe not the best advice. Okay. Damn, that's a lot of text. Okay. Yeah, so in January, I went back to Indonesia for the first time in 3 years, just to see my family. Udah lama ya. And one thing I noticed that a lot of my friends from SMA yang selesai kuliah, a lot of them were having trouble getting into work. And I was like, I don't know, I found that strange. And I feel like they get a lot of pressure from maybe like their parents or their friends to find like really good jobs, and to just work. I don't know if this is, I wanted to hear your opinions on whether this is true or not. Because I don't know how it feels basically, because I haven't been in Indonesia for so long. Hey Haki, you're back. I've asked to unmute you. I'm in no control of that, by the way.
Okay, so I have to clarify at first. I do apologize if I speaking too much, because I know this
No?
chain is for me to improve my speaking ability. That's why I want to waste this time. I want to try to speak confidently and to express my thought. Maybe the first thing to look for a best occupation is to know who you truly are. I mean, like many of younger generation don't really know who they truly are. I mean, like they still confused what they want to be at the future. That's why they don't have any quiet, strong preparation or quiet, strong plan. Whether they want focus on something really matter in their future, but they just pretend that the future will gonna be easy, the future will gonna be okay. That's why they don't have any preparation at all. But in fact, in the workplace, many requirement that we should possess at first. That's what the young generation really just want to have the instant process. But at least we should prepare something that we really focus on to make ourselves be professional at one's area. I don't really agree with all the question in front of me, because when we already know who we truly are and we already know what is our professional area, then the workplace that we want actually has a lot of chances. It's based on us, what we want to do, what we want to have, and what we want to be in the future. So it's best to prepare everything, include how we can speak with people, how we can interact with people. As long as we prepare ourselves presently in the best way, then I don't really think that in the future we are quite hard to find the proper working place area. That's all. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, sure. I definitely understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I think perhaps personally, I feel like Yeah, I think in this day and age, it's harder to basically figure out where you want to be in X years. I feel like that's something I don't quite know myself. Like, what is the end goal here? What do people want to do in the future? I feel like you have to be very lucky to be able to have a goal and be like, wow, that's what I want to do, and I want to stick to that for the rest of my life. Yeah, perhaps that's not a common thought. But yeah, I feel like when you know what you want to do, then you're in a pretty good, you can be pretty lucky. And perhaps in this day and age, it's harder for people to, yeah, have those trajectories. Yeah, it's just a surprising observation. And then, yeah, so I see a lot of you guys roughly brushing over this in the chat. Yeah, so last time I was teaching for SangSang, I remember that a lot of you guys were somewhat nervous speaking English just out in the open, like outside of your homes, outside of your schools, like in random areas, just in fear of being seen as sosial. I couldn't find an appropriate translation for that. Yeah, is this still the case? I thought it was.
Hello.
Hey.
Okay, so saying thank you to the opportunity for me to answer some of the questions. So the first is is it common for people to speak like this or to say, for me, I'm sorry if my English is not really good.
No, it's great.
Okay, so when I was a student, maybe when I was on my junior high school days, some of my friends told me that I was so English or something like that. And of course, when I was on my senior high school days, my guy friends, they were like, why do you speak in English? Like, why don't you just speak in Indonesia? Because, and so I think it used to be common things, but it is decreased now because people, start to realize that speaking English is not something that make you look like some people, but it makes it helps you to increase your speaking English speaking skill, and it will help you in the future. And the next question is, why do you think people might look negatively at people speaking in English? For me, I think my friends told me that I was so English because they didn't understand what I was talking about. They wanted to understand, but they didn't. So instead of trying to understand and learn more about this language, it's easier for them to bashing it to other people that make them, maybe I don't know, maybe make them feel less or something. So yeah. And how often would something like this stop you from speaking English in a public place? When I was a kid or on my senior school days, sometimes it really made me like, oh, I think it's not like something that I should do. I shouldn't speak English when I wanted to, because I don't know, maybe people will look at me in negative way. But now I don't think it's important anymore, because it is my way to express myself. It is my way to increase my English skill. It is my way to make I don't know, I learn it. If I don't speak confidently, it will make me stuck in this, you know, like in this level. If I try to be more confident, it will help me to make my writing, reading and speaking skill more, you know, more increased. So yeah, that's my point of the questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think one of the things you mentioned in the first part is that you think this is decreasing, which I think is really good. That's great if people are becoming more accepting of other people speaking English around them. That's really good to hear, to be honest. Just because, yeah, I can imagine that it must be like terrible when you're passionate about learning something and then people are trying to perhaps prevent you from doing that or make you feel bad about it. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, why do people look negatively about this? I guess, yeah, like you said, yeah, perhaps they don't understand. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, but yeah, there's no good reason to look negatively at people trying to improve on their English speaking ability, or them trying to improve, yeah, anything really. Yeah, does this mean that a lot of you are now more confident speaking English in public places, or is this still, are you still definitely nervous? Yeah, speaking English outside of school, your homes. Yeah, I guess there is a fact. So yeah, I'm looking at the chat. I guess there is a factor of not being a national language, but the way I look at it, it's looking at trying to minimize or trying to increase the overall like knowledge that people have. Like it might not be something people are used to, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just something new to learn. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do most of you have like have like a friend or one of two of your friends that are like, okay, with this person I usually speak in English, or maybe half the time I'll speak in English with them? Is that a thing? Yeah, it's like a pen pal, but in real life, I guess. So just a pal. And there is an element of it being easier when it is an unknown person you're speaking to. So there's no perhaps shame if you say something weird. They can't judge you because they don't know who you are. Maybe something like that. Cool. All right. Yeah, this is just one off the cuff. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly touch on generational differences. Yeah, just because, you know, my parents are getting old. They're boomers. Yeah, not literally boomers. Yeah, they're not that old, but we're a different generation. There's a lot of things that I do that they don't understand. They're like, what the heck are you doing? I'm trying to think of an example. Yeah, perhaps. So let's say one of the main things that I did that my parents, this is not curhat in any way, that my parents didn't understand is like dropping out of university. That was a big one. They're like, oh, well, because we come from different generations, and my views on higher education are very different to theirs. I'm of the mindset that I can learn anything that I want on my own, and I can do that pretty well. But my parents were like, no, you need to do this, 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 this. I'm just curious whether you guys have any other things in a similar fashion that you can relate to. I got it.
Okay, thank you again. Okay, so I think I kind of relate to these topics about the generational differences. First, it's about what is something you do that people from your parents or grandparents generation don't understand. Of course, it's about the technological things. Like my parents or grandparents maybe don't really understand about use more about the features on feature phones or something like that, or social media or something. And about when I was on my senior high school days, I was really interested about language things, but I was on MIPA major. It's Matematika and IPA, because my school didn't have jurusan bahasa.
Yeah.
So I got into MIPA. But when I was graduated from high school, I really wanted to take sastra Inggris major or hubungan internasional, but my parents were like, no, you have to take accountancy, or maybe like economical major like that. So now I'm in accounting major. That is actually wasn't my really my field, like not really what I interested. But I think it is good to learn something new, even when you didn't really interested about it. You can learn, you can get more new information and new things to learn, and you can still I can still learn things I like I love to communicate, and I try to communicate in public. I make essays about pemanfaatan sosial media untuk membangun personal branding sebagai public speaker and things like that. And I join like debate club like that. I still try to increase my ability in a field I interested, even when I got a different opinion with my parents that made me get into my major now. And what is something that you wish you learned when you were younger and regret not knowing now? The thing I think about, I needed to learn more to be confident, because when I was on my school days, I was a really lack of confidence, and it really made me like, it menahan hold me from doing things I really like, like I don't know, maybe my hobbies, or one of salah satunya adalah speaking English confidently and something like that, because I'm afraid people will call me so English, or people will say like, your grammar was wrong or something like that. And I was really lack of confidence, and I wish I learned more to be confident and don't really care about what people would think about me. And what are some things that you do now that make you feel like you're getting old? Okay, this is the most one thing that really make me like, oh my god, now I'm really on my 20 days is I'm doing my skripsi. So it is the thing that made you realize, oh my god, now I'm on my senior year of college, and that made me feel like kind of old. That is my that is my things. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think doing your scripts doesn't make you old, by the way. I think a lot of actually old people might be offended by that. If somebody's 50 and you're saying, oh, I'm like in my early 20s, I'm so old, they'll be like, what the heck? Um, yeah. Putri, I asked, how you doing?
Hi, no.
Hey,
Everyone. Hi, long time no see.
long time no see.
It was like last year maybe the last time you teach in SangSang, right?
A long time ago. I don't remember, to be
Yeah, a long
honest.
time
And
ago.
a year ago at least.
Mm, right. Okay, so I'm gonna ask the first question. What is something you do that people from your parents or grandparents don't understand? I think these a lot of people here maybe can relate to my opinion. It is about marriage. Because
Ah,
like yeah, right. Because like my parents, my grandparents, they married early, like in their early 20s. Maybe even my grandparents married when she was maybe 14, 15, I don't
oh my
know.
God.
Yeah, it was like a long time ago. So when they see people who are still single, in the nearly and when they are nearly 30, like me, so it's like they kind of, what is it called, like why don't you have a boyfriend, or why don't you get married quickly, you're almost 30, um you will become perawan tua, something like that, why I still don't understand their point of view, like why, like okay, marriage is good, but you cannot force people who are not ready for marriage to marriage. Am I right? Like marriage is a sacred, what is it called? Sacred janji, what is janji? Promise
Promise.
in front of God that you will love your spouse for your whole time and to live together in sick and in happiness. I don't know what is it, but
Mhm.
like they still don't understand. I am still don't understand their point of view. So we cannot have a middle ground on this. So I don't know. Is it just me, or you guys can relate to this as well?
No, I think you're right. And I think older people are also stubborn. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can say, let me live my life, but, my
Exactly.
parents are the same.
Okay. Thank you, Noe.
Thank you. Um, yeah, I had a feeling that one was going to come up. Um, yeah, cool. Hey, Haki, I've asked to unmute you, although,
Okay, once again, thank you so much for
don't
giving
worry.
me. Okay, so the first question is actually financial support, a support system, and also time. In Indonesia, I guess education is one of the underrated topic for some people, but actually this really matters in my family because of the lower financial support. My family always thought that it's enough to complete the higher education in high school. It's enough, then you can earn money by go to work or something like that. But I have a really different point of view. That's why I have to convince them that I can get higher education by scholarship, and I made it. That's why what I want to say is that maybe some people relate with what I've been through before because of their lack education, and the parent don't want to support the children because they think that the economy is a big factor for them to continue in a higher education and a support system. Actually, as a children, we only need support. It's okay, you can get your future, you can be yourself. That's all what we need. But for some people, it's really hard to express a support system for the children. That's why in my family, education is really matter now because I have convinced them and I made them believe that everything is okay, everything is easy as long as you have a big confidence, as long as you have a big attention, then everything you can achieve it. For the second question, what is something that you wish you learned when you were younger and regret not knowing? I wish if I could advise my younger self, I would say be yourself, be brave, and be confident, because actually I am a quiet, shy children before, because I don't want to, I don't really brave to express myself, and I'm afraid to go out from my comfort zone. That's why I want to be a confident person with a public speaking skill. And what are something that you do know that make you feel like you are getting old? So I'm actually 25, and if I was not really getting late, I wish I could do more experiments, join many events, join many activities that makes me a really useful person, because in fact I just getting started to learn public speaking, to deep into English. If I have the opportunity earlier, I will start it, and now maybe I have a professional career. But it's okay. We never know what tomorrow will be. As long as we do it very well, perhaps tomorrow will be okay for us.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think 25 is still very young, and you can still achieve all of those things. Yeah, that's another factor, I guess. People feel like they're getting old when they're still very young. Yeah, there's so much time. There's so much time. Yeah, I'll go through these ones real quick. So yeah, what's something that you do that people from your parents or grandparents generations don't understand? I went through that one. What's something that I wish I learned when I was younger and regret not knowing now? I wish I could speak Balinese. I lived in Bali for like 9 years, and I never learned to speak the language. And yeah, Balinese, a bit random. Yeah, like now when I go back to my home in Jogja, I can speak Javanese, but I also wish I could speak Balinese and maybe Sasak, which is like the language in Lombok, if you're not familiar. Yeah, random. What are some things that I do now that make me feel like I'm getting old? Perhaps I go to bed at like 9, 10 p.m. when all my friends are staying up late, you know, living, yeah, you know, just partying or whatever. I'm just going to bed because I'm too tired for all that. Yeah, whatever, it happens. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's all I have prepared for today, to be honest. It was really good to just, I guess, see all of you, interact with all of you. I hope that it was an hour well spent. If you didn't learn anything, I hope you had a good time. Yeah, if you guys want to reach out for any like questions, if we were to run another session, if you have any topics that you want us to run through, feel free to either message me on LinkedIn or send me an email. And then, yeah, if you guys want, we still have a bit of time, so I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Is that my LinkedIn? I'm not sure. Oh, I'll stop sharing. All right, did anybody have any questions? Hey, got it. Did you have a question?
Okay, I have a question. Maybe for us, for all of us, if we have to face the same, like the same situation like before, like maybe when people mock us with our English or something like that, how should we face them? What should we say to them? And I I I want to I want to know what should we do to improve more about our English skill, like how to maybe like how to find our partner to increase our speaking skills. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, for the first part, I think if somebody is, not being quite nice about you speaking English, the best thing you could probably do is to be honest and to just say like you're trying to improve on a skill, and you're probably going to do it no matter what people think, and it's positive for everybody around you as well to hear you speak English. It's not common, they're learning. And in terms of finding like a partner to speak English with, I'm seeing somebody in the chat saying you can use ChatGPT. But I also think another great solution is that I can see that there's like 150 participants in this call, and I'm 100% sure that at least that I'm 100% sure that there's a couple people here that would be like really happy to exchange, like to be able to practice speaking English with you. You're doing amazing by just doing this today. Your English is great, so there's like absolutely nothing you have to worry about. But yeah, there's 150 people in this call. Like there's somebody that you'll be able to find as an English speaking partner here. And then if not, I don't quite have the solution to if not, to be honest. I'm sure a lot of people here are better at answering that question compared to me. So if anybody has any suggestions, yeah, please stick it in the chat. I hope that was useful. Got it. Hey Lutfia, I don't know if you had a...
Right, that most of us learning English from school and textbook, and we will think that they will teach in the right way. And I know it well between textbook and how native speaker talking in different way. But nowadays, there's so many native speaker makes content in social media. Then they always say like, don't say this, don't say this. Instead of saying this, better you say it like this. That makes me feel like not confident, because it makes me think that so far I'm talking in wrong way. So that we're learning from textbooks, so we don't know how native speaker talking like this. Yes.
Yeah, I get that it can be confusing if you're getting information from here and then you're getting another source of information that telling you that you shouldn't use this information. I get that can be confusing. So I think the main thing is firstly to not let any of that extra information prevent you from going out and speaking. I feel like that's the worst thing that could happen if it discourages you from speaking English. So if it does discourage you from speaking English, then don't listen to like ex-native speaker who's trying to tell you not to say this or that, just because it's doing more good than bad at this point. On the other hand, if you expose yourself to more native speakers speaking English, then over time, whether you're sadar or nggak sadar, like your English will start to sort of change a bit. Like for example, for me, I'm not trying to learn. I speak English, like I speak American English, but I live in the UK. I'm not trying to learn UK like English, but lama-lama kan juga I have to adapt subconsciously. So I guess what I'm trying to say is just stick to the bases that you know. Over time, when you're listening to more native English speakers, it'll naturally sort of develop. Don't like think about it too much. Don't let it discourage you from like speaking more often. Over time, you'll sort of develop your English to adapt to said native speakers, basically, if that makes sense. Did that make sense? Kalau nggak jelas, just let me know, yeah, because sometimes, you know, I might not be clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, okay. I think I have time to do one more.
Okay, so my question was gonna be, you are a teacher, right?
So I used to be. I'm not a full-time anymore, but yeah.
So you have a lot of experience before. My question is, how do we convince our student that English language is really fun?
I think you're frozen. The last thing I heard is, how do we convince our students that English is fun? I hope I'm doing that. I hope you guys aren't finding this boring.
Student that English language is fun, and for the English second language student, it is not easy to teach them speaking skill, right? So if you have those experiences before, where should we start to teach a speaking skill for?
Okay. I'm going to take that as, when should we start teaching people who speak English as a second language speaking? I would say straight away. I think the most valuable part of the English language is to speak. And for somebody to speak 100% of the time, but not speak well, is better than for somebody to speak 10% of the time perfectly. The rate of improvement when you speak English in like actual real life scenarios is much higher than when you're trying to learn English in another way. Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to say is teach speaking as soon as you can, as often as you can. It's the most like valuable skill when it comes to English speaking. It's the funnest part, to be able to communicate in a language that you're not so familiar with. Yeah. Cool. I think that's gonna have to be it for today. Yeah, I hope this was useful for you guys. Please jangan lupa absen di Google Form yang udah dikasih admin from the Telegram group and the WhatsApp group. Whoever wants to watch this video again bisa lewat YouTube-nya SangSang KT&G. Yeah, if you have any questions, you have my details. It was really great to see all of you, and yeah, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.